Hey everyone, hi. Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, I am Shelly, and today I'm gonna give you a little catch up on my life. If you if you like personal videos that also converge with one's reading life, which is also quite a personal hobby, I would encourage you to subscribe, stick around, because that's really what I'm all about here on my channel. Sort of a cozy, I'm a bit of a cozy, chatty person who loves books and reading. Anyway, so if that's your jam, I would encourage you to subscribe. Otherwise, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. So I was really looking forward to April. I was really looking forward to April. I'm gonna try and tell this in chronological order. So April was spring break. I'm a teacher. I teach at a very small private school in my area, and the school takes 2 weeks off for spring break. So I was thrilled. Like, I was so excited about this break. I was like gonna do it up right. I was just so excited. And of course, maybe maybe I shouldn't have been so surprised, but I actually got quite sick the first week of the vacation. I came down with strep throat. I'm one of those people who I had really swollen lymph nodes from strep throat, and it was going around the school. I'm not surprised that I got it, but I get really swollen lymph nodes, but I don't actually have any of the soreness in the throat. Like, I can still swallow, and I can still drink water and eat fairly normally, but instead I broke out in a rash from the tips of my cheeks down to my ankles. And what it looked like was a very splotchy, uneven sunburn, which is, you know, aesthetically, like, for vanity's sake, it was annoying, but also, like, I knew that something was very wrong because I'm running a fever and I'm breaking out in this splotchiness and, you know, feeling pretty terrible. And finally all of that kind of, I got on the right antibiotics and all of that broke, and I felt really good. And I really lived it up the second week I had off. I went book shopping, I read, I was just so excited. And I think around that time, and this is my first little bookish thing that converges with this story time, around the time I got sick, I actually finished Boulder by Eva Baltazar, which was longlisted for the International Booker and then is now shortlisted. Now, I bought this as a way to participate in the International Booker. I had no idea, obviously, like all of us readers, what was going to make the shortlist. And I bought it because it sounded the most appealing. Eva Baltazar is a poet. This is her second book, I believe, after this book called Permafrost. And it's about two women in a relationship, and essentially it was said, or sort of synopsized as, like, one woman didn't want to be a mother, and that really got in the way of their relationship. I would say that this book is more about the way that the desire for children and motherhood changes, like, fundamentally changes the relationship between two people and the effects that it has on a serious long-term relationship. And, you know, Eva Baltazar was not disappointing in the least. Her writing was very poetic. It had this rhythm and this rawness to it. Actually, which I will talk about later, she reminded me a bit of Sharon Olds and the way that Sharon Olds approaches her poetry. A bit story-like, a bit sort of raw around the edges when she's trying to communicate something that's difficult. And so anyway, so I read this, and then I was really thrilled that I chose so well because, you know, it made the International Booker shortlist. And I really, you know, I don't have much skin in that game. I don't really have much, like go. I don't know much about the International Booker, but here's what I do know. I hope this wins from what I've read from it, which is only this book. And I also kind of smugly felt like, oh, I chose really well. I chose a book that was shortlisted and one that I enjoyed. As slim as it is, I chose a book that I really enjoyed. And I'm glad about both of those things. So this was a success. And again, I read this around the time that I had strep throat or was recovering from it, and in that spring break period. So then I returned to work for a week, and I get home on Friday of that full week of work, and I'm feeling terrible. And pretty quickly I devolve.
I put Harry on the nose.
Okay, I think it was it's one of those videos that I get interrupted quite a few times, but that's okay. So anyways, on Friday, so we have 2 weeks off at the beginning of April for spring break, and then I work a full week, and that Friday I'm feeling pretty bad, and I make this really incredible dinner. Like, my husband and I actually had committed to not eating refined sugars and refined carbs, carbohydrates like bread and rice and anything like pasta or anything like that. You'll probably hear Harry's tinkle, like little tinkling. There he is. Huh. There he is. Anyhow, so we had committed to this like no sugar diet, and no like refined or packaged carbs sort of eating plan for the month of April. We just wanted to eat better and feel better. And so Friday night, I put all this labor into making these really incredible meatballs. I'm getting all these cooking tips because I'm out working in the world and I do love to cook, and so I'm getting all these cooking tips. And so what happened was that I put all this labor in, I make this meal, and I'm done, and we're really close to sitting down to eat it. And I'm like, I don't feel good. I just really don't feel good. My back was aching for the last several days, and I'm just not feeling great. And so I go to bed, and I'm out, and at that point I'm running a fever, and I get the like shakes from the fever from being cold. And that night is pretty terrible. And so I had tested myself and went to an appointment for a urinary tract infection that might have gotten into my kidneys, some of the bacteria possibly getting into one's kidneys, which is serious, especially since I'd already been on antibiotics for strep throat. And so here I am, I test positive for the UTI, and I am just like really miserable, and I get prescribed antibiotics that I can't even remember, but some of the side effects are nausea and sick to one's stomach and feeling just pretty terrible. And so as I'm taking these antibiotics, I get those side effects, and it's very strong. And so I really can't drink water very well. I'm not eating very much at all, and I'm really, really sick. And so finally on Sunday, so Saturday was like the day in which I'm taking these antibiotics that are really doing more harm than good, or that's how it felt. And I finally go into a clinic and get a doctor's appointment in which they, again, test me. And I had the prognosis correct, or the diagnosis. When I self-diagnosed, I had it correct. And they finally give me some anti-nausea medicine and antibiotics that will be easier on my stomach. One sec, I think of Harry's hair, like, ugh. So anyways, and the anti-nausea medicine was amazing, because once I started taking that, I could drink water, and drinking water and hydrate myself and start to actually feel like I can eat something without feeling sick or anything like that. So then the story's not even over. Then it takes 3 days with the antibiotics for the symptoms to clear up. The symptoms of feeling nauseous, fever, just the shaking that you get from the fever. It takes, several days after you start taking the antibiotics for everything to clear up. So finally, by by Wednesday morning, rather, it was Wednesday morning, I started feeling like I was on the mend, because even on Monday and Tuesday, I would have these stretches of hours where I felt pretty good, and then suddenly I would devolve into a feverish state, and that was really miserable. And so then after all of that, I was so just ill, and as you can probably get the picture of, I just wasn't feeling at all good. Finally, after all of that, I could return to work on Thursday because I wasn't continuing to run a fever. But I just wasn't myself. Like, I could just tell that walking around was not in my best interest. But I, pushed through, and Friday was a better day. Pushed through that. And again, I was well enough to do my work. Like, I was well enough to do my work for sure. I wouldn't have gone if I was still running a fever or feeling really weak. Or anything like that. I had fully gotten my appetite back. I was feeling good, and was able to do my work, which made me happy, back into a routine, back in the groove of things. And then over the weekend, I felt like my sleep I had to catch up on. So I slept a lot over the weekend, and now I'm back again. But interestingly, I feel quite changed from the experience from being sick. And a lot of you were so kind, were so kind, and were so amazing in saying, like, I hope you're feeling better, and I'm so glad you're feeling better. But weirdly, I feel kind of slow to restart everything. I've been slow to talking to you all. Again, really slow at it. Like, it's been a crawl. Like, I feel like I have no creative energy at all, which has never happened since I started my channel. And I feel a little bit like blocked up. Like, I don't know what to say with you all. But I think having the month that I have had, having the month that I've had, it's hard to just come back and just be like, everything's grand and here's what I've been reading, because it's really affected my whole life. I've felt a little bit quieter, a little bit more reflective, a little bit not myself, to be honest with you. And I feel like it's coming back, but it's a slow crawl. Again, physically I'm feeling quite well and I have a good bit of energy, but I feel like emotionally and spiritually it's just taking a little while to get back to sort of my normal like burst of energy. And so interestingly, I also wanted to mention like how this has affected my reading life. So over the weekend, I just felt exhausted. I was like, I don't even know if I can read. Like, what is this? I was just really tired, like in my brain, and like mentally, I was like fatigued almost. And I thought I was maybe going to be sliding into a reading slump, and that scares me because reading is really an escape for me. It's a solace. It gives me a lot of pleasure and a lot of joy. And to not read would not be okay, like with me, in my heart, in who I am. And so I had this like mini panic of like, am I going into a reading slump? And of course, no, I wasn't. But I think on Sunday it was, I picked up The Father by Sharon Olds. This is why I have it nearby. This is the fourth poetry collection of Sharon Olds that I own, and the last one that I have yet to read. The other three I've read. And Sharon Olds, I love her poetry, and I opened it up and I realized that this book is all about the end of her father's life, and she's describing his sickness and taking care of a sick person and what that means. And I couldn't do it. Like, I was really affected by reading that in the pages. I got that really kind of like tight sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, like there was a rock there, that I was just feeling like blocked up and not okay with reading something like this. And so I read like the first 12 pages of 70 or something. So, like I read a handful trying to get into it, and I was just like, I can't right now. I just can't. And so I thought it was really odd that my sickness affected my reading life, not just in the slumpiness, but in the content. And right now we're in Misery May, and there's a little part of me that's like, I don't want to do it. I only want to read books that make me happy. So maybe I will kind of like slide myself into Misery May. I really think that Demon Copperhead, which is one of the books I plan to read for Misery May, will be good. I think it'll be fine, absolutely fine. But this here, not that it was even a miserable book, it was just describing somebody who was very ill, and that was really hard. That was really hard on me. So I set this aside. I have no doubt that I will like be able to come back to it and read it and be just fine. And then rather, I picked up Bunny by Mona Awad, and this is like the most bananas cuckoos crazy. Oh my goodness. As I was saying, this is the most bananas cuckoos crazy book I've ever read. Like, it's so bizarre and funny in the right way. Like, it's just so rip-roaringly funny. But for the right person, it has to be, you have to have the right sense of humor for it. So I would say that it is like a Quentin Tarantino B-side gory horror flick. It's a B movie, not a B-side. It's like one of those true like low budget films. It's like that meets Legally Blonde meets The Heathers. Those are all movie references. I don't have literary references to back them up. It is just so random. It's such a random book, but in like the best, funniest, weirdest way. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm just enjoying being like taken outside of myself into this weird, like surrealistic, odd, cuckoo's bananas crazy world that that this is. So anyway, so I've been really enjoying that, and I thought it was worth noting that like as I've been sick, it has affected both the amount that I read and you know, what I'm picking up, and I think that that's fascinating in its own right. Let me know, like, have you gone through huge sort of shifts in your reading, and what has that meant for you, and how has life changed the way that you read? I would really love to know that. This seems like it was so sudden and so unexpected, and such an odd event that happened, being so sick and then being in recovery. And I don't know, it's just an odd thing, whereas usually when I've changed, it's been sort of slow and methodical, and then I can sort of trace how I've changed over time and what circumstances led to those changes. But anyhow, I should go. I'm getting interrupted here, right, and everywhere, here, there, and everywhere. And he says I want to be in it too. But really, this is it. I'm gonna go. Thanks for watching. Leave me comments down below. I'd really appreciate it. Just say hi, even if you would like. I would love that too. And I will see you all in my next one. Bye.